Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today I got a really fun video for all you support players. Basically, I have 5 rules for supports that are trying to gain MMR. So obviously, all of these rules will help you gain MMR. However, the first point, or the first rule, is going to be pretty easy to implement. Then the 5th rule is going to be very difficult to implement. And then of course, the second one will be a little bit more difficult than the first one, the third more difficult than that, the fourth more difficult than that, and you get the point. So I might be doing this for every single role. Let me know what role I should do next. But without further ado, let's figure out how we can all become better support players. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like literally with the gameleap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the gameleap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below. I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. All right, starting off at number 1, this is the most simple thing you can apply that will make you way better as a support player. A lot of support heroes are effective as a support hero because they don't need items to have impact. They can have impact strictly with levels. That is what makes Crystal Maiden a good hero, Jakiro a good hero, and it's not that these heroes don't like items. Crystal Maiden loves having a BKB or a Glimmer Cape, and Jakiro likes buying Aether Lens and maybe his shard and a Force Staff, and you know, they like buying all these items, but typically they just need levels. So buy the Tome at minute 10. This is rule number 1, without exception. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Speed, what if my position 4 needs the Tome, right? Or my position 5 needs the Tome, right? What if they need the Tome? What if they're more important than me? And we could get into a discussion about that. But if you are below 3k MMR, you should insta-buy the Tome almost every single game if you are below level 6 at minute 10. Okay, yes, now there are priorities when it comes to the Tome. For instance, let's say you have a position 5 that is playing Disruptor and a position 4 playing Tiny. Personally, I would prefer that the Disruptor took the Tome because Disruptor needs his level 6 to have significant mid-game impact compared to the Tiny who, you know, Avalanche tosses. You know, he wants his levels. Levels are good, but he's going to be able to have impact even at level 5. Hitting level 6 and level 7, they matter, but not nearly as much as Disruptor 6. Either way, the point is, I will literally see consistently people not buy the Tome till minute 11, minute 10:30, minute 12, minute 13. I mean, we get real bad when we get to minute 13. If no one's bought the Tome at minute 13 and you're a mid player, if no one's bought the Tome and it's minute 12 and you're a core player, please buy it. If it's minute 11, you could. Just because this item is broken. There's one of them and there's one of them for a reason. You need to hit level 6, and then when you buy the Tome, often you should pair it with a smoke and go kill someone with your timing. Make this a routine of your game and you'll be a better support player. It's that simple. Coming in at number 2, this one honestly probably is about the same as number 1, maybe slightly harder, and I'll get into why, but that's stack pulling. And the reason why stack pulling is harder than buying the Tome at minute 10 is because you have to pay attention to the clock, and then you have to have a good awareness of when to protect your carry or your offlaner in lane when stack pulling. Now, in the offlane as a position 4, you're not going to stack pull very much. It's too hard, right? It will get contested most of the time because of where the large camp stands. However, the small camp is pretty far away from where the lane takes place, and honestly, if you're the average MMR, you should be able to get stack pulls off that don't get contested most of the time. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, oh, Speed, you have no idea what you're talking about. You haven't played a 2K game in years, which is true. I haven't. I haven't played a 2K game in years. But either way, I've coached so many 2K players, 3K players, 4K players, 1K players, and the stack pull doesn't consistently get contested. Okay? Stacking the pull camp doesn't consistently get contested. It might occasionally, but for the most part, it won't. You need to stack pull. If you deny an entire creep wave, which is what a stack pull does, if you don't know what a stack pull is, it's when you double up the pull camp, right? So you know you can stack camps, you stack the pull camp, stack the small camp at 53, 54. Then on the next wave, you pull it and it will deny the entirety of the wave. So much so that most of the camp won't even die. And the real benefit to that is then you can pull again if the enemy doesn't react, and you can kind of rinse repeat. Now the reason why this is more difficult is sometimes you don't want to stack pull. For instance, if the enemy has like a Sand King who's cutting waves and you try to stack pull, you're just going to stack for the Sand King, right? And you shouldn't do that, of course. So you need to be aware of the situation, and sometimes if you're playing, let's say, Crystal Maiden, and you're a level 2 Crystal Maiden, you're on your aggressive timing. You should be probably going for kills and not stack pulling, because a lot of people will say, oh, I'm doing what Speed says. how am I not winning my games? And they're playing Crystal Maiden with a Troll Warlord. They have this really dominant lane, and they're just AFK trying to pull when they should be killing the enemy because they're at their major spike, right? In terms of pressure. But yeah, stack pulling's broken. It's completely broken. Like, there's no other way to put it. If you're allowed to do it, it's game ruining for the offlaner. Like, I get pissed if my position 4 lets them stack pull. There's not, like, I don't know what to say. It's so bad if they get that off. Now, getting into number 3, you gotta think about your kill threat. This one's hard. Right, this one, I mean, it's not impossible, but you gotta look at your heroes. Now, typically your kill threat is not gonna be with the safe laner. There's exceptions to this. For instance, you know, if you're laning with something like a sniper and he has max shrapnel, and you're playing maybe Clockwork, Tusk, whatever, some sort of initiator, even if it's Crystal Maiden, you probably have a good amount of kill threat, and that's something to think about. But as the game plays out, you need to consistently think about who you can kill people with. Now, that's not the only goal of Dota, right? You could also think about stacking and so on, and that could be another point in this video. But for the sake of the point and sake of the rule, you need to think about who you can kill with and who you can kill. You have to look at the scoreboard and think, okay, do it before the game, but also do it as the game progresses. If someone on your team is snowballing, you can enable them, right? By playing with them. And that's really, really important. The amount of players who never smoke a hero, who never make a move with a hero, even if it has nothing to do with smoke, never make a move with a hero, is insane. I've coached an AA player recently. He hit level 6. His mid laner is a Void Spirit. Why not go kill people? He just sat behind his drow. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And you might be like, oh, that's not me, I don't do that. You do that. You probably do that. Right? There's a very, very high chance you're not thinking about your kill threat. If you aren't playing something like, let's say, Ancient Apparition, right? Just to stick with that example, and you're not pretty consistently using your ulti, if you're not getting off 10, 11, 12 ultis per game, right? Maybe that's a bit high. I'm not exactly sure actually what the average ultis casted on AA per game is, but let's say at an Immortal level it's around 12, and you're only casting 6 or 7, which is probably pretty likely. You're likely just not being aggressive enough. You're not finding opportunities. You're not understanding who you can kill and who you threaten and who you need to work with to make that happen, and do it before the game. Think a little bit, right? I'll be honest, yeah, high Immortal players, they're not going to do this because they already know, right? Not to the fullest extent. A lot of them probably should think more. Like, I'll keep it real. I should think more at the beginning of my game, for sure, no doubt, right? And all these tips I apply to myself. And really, it's helped me become a much better support when I do play the role. Now, getting into the number 4 rule, we have learn when to take farm. Man, this one is hard, but I'm going to give you a pretty simple rule to execute on it. Only push in 1 or 2 waves, and that's it. Now, what do I mean by this? When you're playing support, people will take it the wrong way. I've had people watch my videos and say, oh, Speed told me to split push as Jakiro. And then that's all they do. They won't show up to a team fight for 3 minutes, and they'll farm a Yules. And it's like, you're missing the point. I didn't tell you to go AFK. I told you to farm occasionally so you can push in the wave for your own gold, your own XP, right? Your levels, your timings, and some map control, right? Pushing in the wave gives you a little bit of map controls, some information on the map, right? As the wave shoves up. And so it's useful to shove in waves. However, I even coached, what was the hero? I can't remember it. I can't remember the specific hero, but I was coaching a support game recently, and the player was doing great. He was fighting most of the game, which is what you do as a support. I would say 85-90% of the game. You're not necessarily like always fighting, but you're looking for an engagement or fighting. You see what I'm saying? Right? So you're doing one or the other, and then occasionally, typically after a fight ends, or if your team truly only wants to farm, should you push in a wave or 2. The only exception to this that I think should happen consistently, right? Because pushing in waves, sometimes there's games where you just don't do it at all. The game's so active where you don't do it at all, and that's fine, right? And that's fine, that's okay, right? At that point, your MMR as a support is gonna be determined by your positioning and spellcasting, for the most part, right? Which is a huge thing. I could have made that a full point. Position well, cast your spells at max range. That in and of itself, massive. But learn when to take farm, guys. You're probably griefing the game. A fight's going to break out. You're not going to be able to show up in time because you kept pushing out the waves. Yeah, you're going to hit an item timing, but your team's going to die. And it's like, great, right? You know, you've completely defeated the purpose of shoving in waves. It's whether or not you can learn to do it in between fights. Watch your replays. If you're never pushing in waves, you need to think about when your team is going AFK, when they're farming, when they're chilling, and when you can get out on the side lanes and push out those waves. And finally, this is the most advanced tip by far, and it's quite hard to execute on, I understand, because it requires quite a bit of teamwork, but it's calling smokes around the mid wave and dire jungle around minute 15 to 25, depending on your lineup. Now, why would you do that? Why would you call a smoke around the mid lane or the dire woods around minute 15 to 25 depending on your lineup. It is because Dire Woods and the mid-wave are very close to Roshan. This is the most important objective in the game getting into the mid to late game because it gives you a very clear fight advantage. And the whole point of Dota is to gather resources so that when you fight, you are stronger. You are stronger. And so if you can get the Aegis, you have a natural advantage, right? A huge advantage. And so yes, this does take quite a bit of coordination. And, you know, if you want to get 4 or 5 players to make a move like this, it can be exceedingly difficult. So really what I recommend, more so, is you identify, first off, how well can my team Rosh? Can we Rosh? Is this something you think about? It's probably not, so that's a good question to start with. Can my team Rosh? When do I think we can Rosh? If you have no idea the answer to that question, a fair guess is minute 20. So stick with minute 20 to minute 21. Most team comps, with very few exceptions, can Rosh as long as they have 5 heroes in the pit at minute 20 to 21. And the only way you're going to be able to convince your team to Rosh is if you spam ping it and say Rosh, 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 type Rosh, 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 go Rosh, please go Rosh, I beg of you to Rosh, but after you get a pick off. I've watched quite a bit of Pro Dota as of late, not surprisingly, but I've watched quite a bit of Pro Dota, and one of the most common moves I'm seeing over and over and over again is a movement, a smoke, a pick off into the Rosh pit, right? It's brutally common because it's brutally effective, right? Because a big thing as well is like, let's say you get that pick off, you take Rosh, the enemy knows, they know you're taking Rosh. They're going to come contest it because they don't want to give you that Aegis. They know that's a bad idea. But then what ends up happening is they fight you around the pit and you're happy because you're probably winning the game and you're already a man up. It's a 4v5. Unless you've committed a huge amount of resources to get the pick off. Hopefully it's off a smoke and it doesn't take that much. But you get the point, right? You get the point. So thank you guys so much for watching. These are my 5 rules for supports trying to get MMR. Please take them seriously. And I even recommend rewatching this video maybe a month from now, 2 weeks from now. I know no one's going to do that. Because none of you care that much. Let's be real, you're not going to do that. But it is really important to remind yourself of the fundamentals and key ideas consistently if you're actually trying to get to the next rank. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what role I should pick next for 5 rules of going from easiest to hardest. I'll see you in the next one. Peace!
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace!